Farm Basics is brought to you by the Liberty Link Trait and Ignite herbicide from Bayer. The most reliable weed management solution, Liberty Link and Ignite are the link to efficient row crop production and sustainable weed management.
During our Farm Basics time today, we wanted to talk a little about lawn fertilization. Now, before we get into this, let me first say, if you have a lawn, which almost everybody does, and you're going to fertilize, we want you to be very careful and responsible with the amount of fertilizer you apply, because what we find is that everybody talks about over-fertilization and pollution across the country, but that's very seldom farmers. It's very commonly coming from in-town applications, because it's real easy to say, well, heck, I got an extra half bag of fertilizer left. Let me just double fertilize.
Well, nobody wants to have a half bag of anything laying around, especially in the garage when your kids might get out there to get their bikes or their toys, and here's this half bag of lawn fertilizer out there. Now, granted, it's not the most harmful stuff in the world, but still, you don't want to have your kids digging through it like it's the sandbox.
Right, so if you really wanted to do it right, here's what we would suggest in terms of lawn fertilization. First, you should soil test. And I realize you say, what? I'm not going to soil test. Look, it only costs 20 or 30 bucks. Just go out and pull a sample. It's not that tough. Go down 6 inches deep, pull a nice core 6 inches deep, pull a few cores, mix those together, and then send that into a lab for analysis. And one of the most important things that I would look at on there is cation exchange capacity.
Well, when we talk about cation exchange capacity, that gives us the holding capacity of the soil, its ability to hold water, to hold nutrients, all those things. And when you think about that, you say, well, why is that so important? It's my lawn. I know that I'm going to water my lawn, whatever, and I'm just putting a little bit of fertilizer on. No, this is going to tell you how much of that nitrogen fertilizer you're going to be able to hold. Now, I've got some neighbors that they put on straight nitrogen fertilizer on their lawn. And I say, what are you doing? Why are you doing that? Well, I get this quick green up effect, and I really like it because then my lawn looks better than your lawn for a little while. And I say, hold on, hold on. When you're doing that, do you realize how much nitrogen you're putting out there per square foot and per acre? Well, here's where cation exchange capacity comes in, because you can only apply about 10 times what your cation exchange capacity is per whole acre of soil. Now, many people in town may be dealing with a quarter of an acre, an eighth of an acre. Who knows how big that lawn may be.
Well, first of all, an acre is 43,560 square feet. So now you can just divide that up. So let's say you had a 4,300 square foot lawn, then you're talking about roughly 1/10 of an acre.
So in that case, you could use whatever your CEC is. That's how many pounds of nitrogen fertilizer you could safely apply at one time on your lawn. So for the guy that says, well, I'm going to put straight nitrogen out there, that's probably okay, but just do a very small amount. So maybe you take a quarter of that bag and put it out this time.
Let's give you a specific, but we got to give a specific example here. Let's say your cation exchange capacity was 15. Okay, so multiply 15 times 10, that's 150. That's how many pounds you can put out on a whole acre. If your lawn is 1/10 of an acre, you have to then divide by 10, so now you're back to 15 total pounds. That's it. So if you've got a bag of lawn fertilizer...
Well, there's lawn fertilizer out there that's 30-0-0, and we should probably explain that. The first number is nitrogen, the second number is phosphorus, the third number is potassium. So in a 30-0-0, the 30 is 30% nitrogen. So if you have a 50-pound bag of 30-0-0, well, 30% of that 50 pounds, or 15 total pounds of that bag, is nitrogen.
The 1/10 of an acre example, in my example, where you could put about 15 pounds, now that whole bag could cover that whole lawn. Okay, for 1/10 of an acre. Maybe your cation exchange capacity is 10, maybe it's 8, maybe it's 5, I don't know, and maybe it can't hold that much. Or maybe you have
a whole bunch of nitrogen left over from last year that your lawn never used. If you're one of the guys that puts on fertilizer about 4 or 5 times throughout the season because you want to make sure your lawn looks great, you may have plenty of fertilizer out there already and you may need to wait.
Yep, so anyway, our whole point is be very careful and responsible when you're fertilizing your lawn. Now, the other thing I suggest to people is crisscross your lawn. So don't just put all the fertilizer out north-south, go north-south, then go east-west. So you've got a crisscross. You'll have a much more even spread that way, because a lot of the spreaders, let's face it, that you're going to use on your lawn, they're not exactly commercial grade.
Well, okay, and here's the other thing. We talked about nitrogen and really kind of briefly about potassium and phosphorus. Those things are important, but don't forget about micronutrients. Don't forget about sulfur. We've had some good luck putting on calcium sulfate or gypsum, kind of softening up the lawn a little bit. We've had good response putting on that. There are different forms of nitrogen. There are so many things to talk about. If you don't know anything about fertilizer for your lawn, talk to somebody. Don't just buy a bag off the shelf. No. talk to somebody about it, because there are certainly some experts out there that can help you get the lawn that you're looking for.
And again, probably the most important thing is soil test your lawn. I know you probably haven't done it before, but we would really strongly encourage you to do that. That's the first step you need to take if you're going to fertilize responsibly.
And if you're going to try and control weeds, it's good to know a little bit about that too. We'll share a little bit of our weed of the week coming up later in the show.